First, this is a moment, isn't it? It's become one of the... I love how scared you are of this rabbit. It's become one of the nation's favourite farmers with a regular slot on Country Farm, even his own YouTube channel now. Adam Henson wants to share his love of the British country.
And in his new book, Two for Joy, Adam explains why even in dark winter months we can still enjoy the great outdoors. And he joins us now, and he's brought along a couple of furry friends. Who are these little bunnies?
Well, these are actually called Alison and Holly.
No! Which one's Alison?
Well, if you shout their name, which one pricks its ears up?
Alison!
No, it's this. It's this.
Oh, there's Alison, there's Holly. Holly. Oh! They know their names.
So they're actually a Belgian hare. But they are rabbits, but they look like hares. And they're really, really intelligent as a breed. And you can teach them their names, and they'll come to their name, which is amazing.
Adam, they
Give
are
that
beautiful.
one the award, see if it reacts to it.
Of course, it's partly his award, isn't it? There you go, Alison. There you go, Ali. There's your award. Oh, she's a bit frightened already.
Wonderful.
Sorry, Ali. Yeah, the new book.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Tell us about this.
Adam, this is amazing. Two for joy.
Yeah,
one
so
for sorrow, two for joy.
Indeed.
Is that where you got it from?
It is indeed from that. And of course, you know, during the last few years, it's been very difficult for people. There's been a lot of people worried about mental health, but getting out into the countryside has really been a thing. So I'm a farmer, but we've got lots of areas on the farm where people can get out and enjoy the countryside. So I wanted to write a book that's uplifting, with tales and stories about nature, the farming seasons, and something a bit more uplifting. And so I'm very lucky to live on a big farm that we're tenants of. My lockdown was 1,600 acres of countryside.
Yeah.
And farmers do a lot for conservation and wildlife. And I just wanted to sort of bring some of that to light in the book.
And I think that's so important, because I think people sometimes feel a little bit disconnected with, like, you know, the sat in the towns or villages thinking, well, how... I don't know... It's there, but how accessible is it? Am I allowed to walk on there? Am I allowed to, you know, go and visit, you know, farms or whatever? And also, how people feel connected or disconnected, rather, from the nature around them.
Indeed, yeah. So my dad was really forward-thinking. So he loved rare breeds conservation, old-fashioned farm animals. We opened a place called the Cotswold Farm Park where people come and visit farms, and he was a trailblazer. But now there are hundreds of farms open all over the UK, lots of footpaths, coastal paths, open access areas for people to get out into the countryside. But even if you live in a city, you can get out into a park or amongst nature very, very quickly. And I sort of are trying to urge people, not in a preachy way, but just put your phones down, put your screens down, use your senses, take in the great outdoors. Even if you're walking through a park, you might see a squirrel, a robin, a blackbird. You know, just absorb some of those things.
I was reading in the papers this morning, listening to bird songs is good for your mental health. Listening to bird songs just a few minutes each day may hold the key to feeling more chirpy. Scientists at King's College here in London found that watching birds and enjoying their chorus can lift spirits up to 8 hours and can help ease depression. Don't you think that's amazing?
I think it is amazing, and it's something that I've grown up with. You know, the great outdoors, listening to birds. I'll be walking down my drive and I'll hear a robin singing or a blackbird chirping, or out in the fields, skylarks singing up, and they bob up and down in the air. So Vaughan Williams used that inspiration to write pieces of music.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's definitely a thing.
But it's so true. Like, when I'm sitting out in my garden and I hear the woodpecker, honestly, it's just lovely. It's a lovely feeling of calm.
That, for me, what I love is that's how technology and nature can go as one. So we were in the woods the other day and we were walking Casper, and we came across this tree that we didn't know what it was, and I was able to get my phone out and through an app identify the tree. And similarly, like, there were great ones for birdsong as well. So yeah, they can work hand in hand so well, can't they?
They absolutely can. Yeah, you're completely right. And I think as families walking around in the countryside, and I use an app all the time because I don't know all my plants and trees, and quite often stop and see some kind of mushroom or toadstool and see what it is. So I think it's really important we continue to learn all the time about what's around us.
Yeah.
You know, those senses and just taking it all in.
And you talk about seasonal eating. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I think a lot of people don't have the opportunity to get out and pick a berry from a bush or, you know, pick an apple from a tree and take it home and cook it. And we grow some amazing produce in the UK. We've got some fantastic farmers with brilliant production standards. And we've kind of forgotten about the seasons. You know, when do we eat asparagus?
Yeah.
When are strawberries in season? When should we be eating sprouts and broccoli and those sorts of things?
And all that stuff tastes better in season anyway.
Of course it does. So I love blackberry and apple pie. My mum used to make fantastic blackberry and apple pie. And, you know, so getting out and picking blackberries and picking apples and cooking food and thinking about where it comes from, the amount of energy and effort that's gone into it is really important.
Adam, what are the take-homes, do you think, for people that sound like that they like the sound of this book? What would the sort of the headlines be for you? Like, if people are sat home and think, OK, but how do I get out? What's the best way of doing it?
Yeah, so I think, you know, with the book, it's a pick up and go. So there's all the seasons through there, places to visit, things to look out for, some poems in there, some old sort of mysteries and myths in there too. And I think people just must remember that the countryside is incredibly accessible and very, very welcoming, and it doesn't matter what your walk of life is. You know, just try and get out there. Yeah. And, of course, there's all the countryside code and there's loads of stuff online about getting out into the countryside. I think it's absolutely essential that we should all try and do more of it.
I think you've done so much for farming, and how do you feel about the press of farmers and how they're seen?
Yeah, so I think we have had a bit of a bad rep, you know, over years, partly in the way we produce food and some of the damage that's been done to the environment. But actually, over the last 15 or 20 years, really, there's a huge amount of work gone into agriculture towards environmental schemes to bring back some of the wildlife and look after the environment around us. In the UK, we're 60% better than other countries around the world as far as our carbon footprint goes. And so there's a huge amount going on in British farming, doing lots of really positive things. So we grow pollen and nectar mixes around the edges of our field where you get bees and butterflies. We grow plants that produce seed for the birds in the winter so they get through that hungry gap. There's lots going on out there.
Oh, amazing.
You have to ask this anecdote, because you were invited for a lunch with the late Queen, weren't you? Can you tell us a little bit about... Because there's a protocol when you're sat next to her. There's a protocol involved there, isn't there?
There is, yes, which I didn't know. And so when you sit down... and the late Queen turned to her right to speak to that person, and then you're supposed to turn the other way, so everyone talks to everyone. And then you're supposed to wait to be spoken to, and...
on the second course?
Well, exactly. And so it came to the second course, and I couldn't wait. I just blurted out. And actually, the question I asked her is relevant, because I said to her, what is it you love about life? Is it... you know, music? Is it art? Is it travel? Is it meeting people? And she said, Adam, like you, I love my wildlife, I love my farming, and I love my dogs and the countryside. And I'd recently bought a bull from the Balmoral estate, a Highland bull. And she said to me, and how's Archie, my bull? Wow. And so she's obviously was very...
So she researched you?
Well, indeed.
That's amazing.
And I think she, as a person... did adore her farming and her wildlife and her horses and her dogs, and we had a connection.
I would have been really upset if I was the person on the other side. I'd be like, he took my question.
I can't believe it.
And it wasn't even, like, his second course yet. The book is out, Two for Joy. It's an absolute joyous book. Thank you so much, Adam. And thank you for bringing our friends in, Ollie and Alison.
Not at all. I'll leave them here for you if you like.
Go on, Alison, why don't you have a cuddle?
Oh, no.
You're scared.
I'll put this one here.
Let me hello there. Hello.
Yeah, I'll put this one right there as well.
Oh,